Alright, in this video we're going to wrap up our information with least common multiple and greatest common factor, and we're going to look at when we see them in word problems. So we have LCM for least common multiple and GCF word problems. Remember, GCF is greatest common factor. As always, make sure you put the date that we're doing the notes so you can come back and reference it later. Alright, so for these problems, we're just going to jump right in, and I'm going to give you two problems, and then we're going to break down the steps of how to solve them. So the first problem is this. So Matt and Ibad are in different English classes at Niles West. Matt's teacher gives exams with 30 questions. While Ibad's teacher gives exams with 24 questions. Their teachers told them they will have the same total number of questions. So they'll have the same total number of questions over the course of the year, but they'll have a different amount of tests. So one class might have more, one class might have less. What is the minimum number of exam questions Matt and Ibad's classes can expect? So the key word in this problem is minimum. Think about what minimum means. Minimum is normally the smallest or lowest or least amount of something. So minimum would go with least common multiple. So what we're looking at here is we're trying to find the LCM of 24 and 30. So LCM And where the 30 and 24 come is right from the question. It's telling you the number of questions that each exam has. So when we're looking at calculating LCM, remember least common multiple is when you just list the multiples of each number. So 24, the multiples of 24 are 0, 24, 48, 72, 96, 120, 144, and so on. For 30, the least common multiples are 0, 30, 60, 90, 120, 150, 180. So when I'm looking at the least common multiple, I'm looking for what number do they have in common, and the least common multiple for these two numbers is 120. So to answer the question, the minimum number of exam questions they can expect 120 questions. Because that was the least common multiple of the number of questions that each class was given. So when you're given a word problem and you're trying to figure out, do I do least common multiple or greatest common factor, the key word is minimum. That's going to tell you least common multiple. So minimum means LCM, least common multiple. Okay, let's look at another example. This time we're going to look at an example for greatest common factor. And this will be problem 2. So let's say Gabe bought one package of 21 binders. He also bought one package of 30 pencils. He wants to use all of the binders and pencils to create identical sets of school supplies for his classmates. What is the greatest number of identical sets Gabe can make? So he's got 21 binders and 30 pencils. He wants to split them up and create identical sets. So what is the greatest number of identical sets that he can make? Keyword is greatest. So when you see greatest, you should automatically think GCF, or greatest common factor. So we're looking for the greatest common factor of 21 and 30. The 21 and 30, again, come straight from your problem. So when we're looking at greatest common factor, remember that's when you just break down the number into its prime factors. And you can use a factor tree. So when I factor out 21, I can do 3 times 7. When I factor out 30, I can do 6 times 5, and then 2 times 3. So to find the greatest common factor, I just see what they have in common, and they each have a 3 in common. So the GCF is 3. Remember, if they had more than one number in common, you would list both numbers and then, or all of the numbers, and then multiply them together for the greatest common factor. So here the greatest common factor is 3. So that means that we can have 3 sets, and they would have 7 binders, because I just divide each thing by 3. So 3 sets with 7 binders and 10 pencils. So our keywords here, keyword here is greatest. So when you see greatest, you're going to think GCF. So you find the GCF between each number, between the numbers. And remember, GCF stands for greatest common factor. All right, so you can use these notes to help you get started with the practice questions.